Adam Rana, welcome to the Tech Talks podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem. We are talking about service accommodation. Now, I haven't done an SA podcast for a while because it bored me to death, but we are back on the topic of SA because now I do SA. So now I thought, you know what, it's time, let's get back into it. And also you have grown incredibly since we first met.
Thank you.
And every time I speak to you or I speak to someone who has spoken to you, they always say, oh yeah, he's done this, he's done that. I'm like, what? Last time I spoke to him, he did this. So
time flies.
It does, and you're doing some interesting things, and I think you do things a bit differently. The way you get deals, the way you speak to people, is something that we can all learn from. So before we get into like what you're doing in property and what you've done in property, who was Adam Rana pre-property?
So as I said, thank you for inviting me. So I'm gonna go back a while. So I did the traditional route of university, but I'll take a step back from there. I came from Pakistan to UK when I was 15, so I had those trouble, coming to a different country, starting my GCSEs here, right, just getting used to the schooling system and everything, I was just straight into the exams, straight into the GCSE. So I did all of that. It was difficult, but I went through it. It's just straight remaining positive and learning from people. Went through university, did mechanical engineering. I had all of that interest in engineering, buildings, mechanics, and all of that. Finished that, got a degree, got a corporate job, worked for a Jaguar Land Rover. Good salary, good benefits. Really enjoyed my job. Got the chance to make a difference actually. So
good benefits, yeah, definitely.
So a lot of people don't talk about everyone gets a corporate job, but I actually had a chance, to make a difference. Got to travel around the world. Make a difference. So I did all of that, and that allowed me to actually get into my first buy-to-let. Getting a good job allowed me to do the traditional way that people do, right? So I got my first buy-to-let for 80 grand in Birmingham, and 2013, and that's capital appreciation. Just happened to me. I didn't really do any work in it, no refurb, no refinancing of the stay. I didn't know much about it, so it's a traditional buy. 80 grand is worth 140 right now. So 7 years, doing nothing, tenanted for 7 years. So sometimes traditional way works as well, I didn't know anything about it. That allowed me to refinance the same property to buy another one, and then have to buy to let. So that's what I did before I got into the SA business. I would say SA business, but before that.
And then, so what made you then? Because you like your job, you still like it. You liked it sort of during this time. What made you then say, you know what, that one buy to let is not sort of enough, I want to do something different? Like, what made you then get into SA? What pushed you into it?
There was loads of factors actually. So how I talked about my traveling, so I did a lot of extensive traveling, not just for work. I did a lot of traveling, just wanted to explore the world. I believe in that you will learn a lot by traveling. Relationships, I learned about how to build a relationship, how to network, how to raise money, by learning from say older people than me when I was younger, by traveling. So when I was traveling for social or with friends, I stayed in a lot of AirBNBs, and I really liked the idea. So I spent a lot of time in Dubai, luxury markets, serviced accommodation, and it was just much better than a hotel. So that's where I get my idea from. I stayed in hostels, so like the hospitality side. I stayed in hotels for work, and that was like, you see the customer service, you see the hostel side, and you see the actual SA side, and I kind of got the ideas mixed together, and I came back to UK, and I had my second buy-to-let which was running, and I was sharing, the tenant just left, so I just used the idea to turn it into an SA and try the market. Literally, it was simple as just putting my feet in and just going for it.
So you experience service accommodation on the other side, which I think a lot of us do. I know I use them when I go on holidays, and you then just said, oh well, they're doing it, it works, I'm paying, I'm staying, let me bring that back home. So you did no training, no courses.
No training, no courses.
You had this second buy to let, which was from the refinance of the first one. Like, what was your first step? So you got this empty house, 4 walls and a carpet and some kitchen and a bathroom. How do you make that into a functioning SA without knowing what you were doing?
So it's actually quite simple and basic. I looked around my competitors. So my corporate job allowed me to learn, because I was spending a lot of time working with my supplier base in my previous job. So I understood, how to look at competitors, how to look at how can I do differently. So literally I went on Airbnb, just looked at all the competitors around me, what the demand is, what the research, did all the research, and try to make it as good with the least investment possible, because I wasn't aware of investors or getting money from other people at that time. So I spent all my money, made it nice, and just put it on Airbnb and marketed it. But what I would say that I learned a lot. I did that for 7 months before I came into the world that SA is a business. I did that for about 7 months. I did the cleaning myself, got some help from my mum, you know.
Wow.
Of course, it's just one SA, so the turnover wasn't so much. I was running about 70% occupancy, and it's mortgage, so you got to remember the mortgage was like £400. So you know you have more leeway in terms of compared to a rent to rent.
Yeah.
So I did all of that, got a chance to learn first-hand meeting people, which was my reason. My main reason was I want to meet new people, because tourists will be coming into Birmingham, but that wasn't not the only case, because I met contractors, I met builders, I met corporate people. So I learned it on the ground. You know, when they say you have to learn hands-on, I actually got that experience, and I think that has contributed to my success.
So when you started out, you didn't plan for your management or like cleaning or channel. You were just like, we'll just do it.
Yeah.
And you were working full time.
I was working full time. Yeah.
How? I mean, I know the turnover was reduced, but how did you manage all of that? Was it literally just you and your mum and friends like balancing time and just you being crazy on top of it, or did it kind of overwhelm you and get too much?
I was on top of it, but it was quite tough, I wouldn't lie. So that's why sometimes mentorship and courses would help, because it gives you the guidance. So I was just using internet, and I was just going for it, right?
Yeah.
Using my phone, so you can do things on your phone.
Yeah.
Everything can be done. Airbnb apps can be done on your phone, booking.com. I was doing everything, organizing, cleans, setting up. So I knew the basics of organizing processes and systems. Again, going back to my corporate job, it's really important. If those people out here who have corporate jobs, don't never dismiss it, because there's always things you can learn. I learned all my business setups processes from watching a bigger business, how they ran. So I kind of implemented that. So I got the basics right, I believe. So that allowed me to get the cleaners right, rotors right, scheduling right, and all of that stuff. And then 6 months, it ran fine. Yes, I made mistakes. Yes, if I had a mentor, would have helped me. Yes, because I would have done it faster. But it allowed me to understand, this is what happens on the ground.
And you were cleaning it yourself, you said?
I did when I had, for example, Saturdays and Sundays, 10 hours, yeah? And I got a cleaner for Monday to Friday. So it's about saving costs, you know? So I thought about, the maximum cost I can get. And there was other issues. The cleaners weren't doing the best job. So I said, look, I can do better, right? Let me do it. And this is where the passion comes in. So people need to have passion in this game. If you want to do SA or any business, buy to let or anything, you need to have passion, create that passion, or just make it that will deliver your results.
Yeah, I agree. So then you had this SA for 6 months, you learn the hard way, sort of how it runs to the level of cleaning. And then what was your next sort of push or revelation where you said, right, let me do this properly as a business, let me scale it, let me put things into place? Like, what made you then say, cool, now it's time to do this?
So I'll be honest here, I went to one of the property courses or seminars, a free networking event and a course. And that's where I really discovered, this could be turned into a scale. I can scale this business into a bigger thing and get a higher return, and to really make my passion work. So it was one of the courses, a free course about that. Like, I didn't pay for it. It's just to open my mind up, right? So I personally think it's good, because that allowed me to explore, open my mind up by meeting people who are in the same circle, which I didn't have for 6 months. So that's what allowed me to say, okay. And then I took that as motivation. Went back and I said, okay, what can I do to use my knowledge and experience, which I already have, to grow this into 10 essays or 12 essays or 15 essays within a year. Okay.
So, and before this, you'd never had your own business? You were travelling and having a corporate job?
Yeah, no business before.
Okay. So then, back when you started, what were some of the things you just mentioned, you implemented to then allow you to grow so quickly? And looking back, are there things you wish you'd implemented back in the start to grow quicker?
So this is, if I had the chance to do it again, systems and processes. So I would have made my systems more robust, made more processes, like have processes for everything, break it down. So it's not just me who can follow it, my cleaners could follow it. Say my mom that was working in the business could follow it, she's never had processes or systems, but it's just making it easier for her and giving her how to guide to do things. And for my guests, never forgetting the customer that we're running this business for. My guests are the lifeblood of our SA businesses. So I would have done processes and systems.
Okay. So going back to that time, you were like, right, let's kickstart this business. Let's grow it. Did you set goals then? Did you have a target? You said, I need to hit this?
Yes, so it's very important, I think, for people starting out to set goals. Well, whilst I didn't set goals for the first 6 months when I just did it on my own property, I came back motivated. I was, how most people get, going to a free seminar. And I said, look, okay, people can grow this into a big scale business. Let me come back and set a goal of 10 service apartments or service houses in 1 year. And then I set up my company as well. So I set up my limited company back end of 2018 in the winter, and I set my goals to achieve within 12 months 10 essays.
And that's 10 rent to essays.
Rent to essays,
right?
yeah. So and then I would use that money to buy assets. That was my ultimate goal.
So essay at the start was a stepping stone for you.
Yes.
But now it's become a core business.
It has, yeah.
So when you started out and you were doing these essays, like what I'm trying to sort of get at is, right, if I'm you listening to this right now, back when you after your 6 months of baptism of fire and now you're like doing the business, what kind of things should I be doing, like back in that position when I'm like, right, I want 10 essays in a year. What kind of things, these could be little things or big general things, should I be doing as an individual to hit a target like that and to smash a target like that?
So there's a lot of things you could be doing. So I'll summarize some of the main factors that I think that allowed me to be successful and other peers around me that were successful as well. Is first of all, make sure your goals and objectives are very clear and you have a vision, so it must link into your vision. So my vision is, for example, I want to build an apartment hotel and get into the hospitality business in a bigger scale where I'm working with land development stuff. So I'll break that down into smaller chunks and turn into objectives and goals, which are very clear. So I will start with 10 essays, learn the business and grow a scale and get into the bigger business, bigger crowd. So goals and objectives must be clear. Break them down and reverse engineer them, how you're going to get there. I would also advise, because how are you going to get the funding, right? So I wanted to make sure, if I got 10 essays, I'm going to get how I'm going to get the funding. So break that down into your goal, how you're going to get funding. Luckily, I started with very low minimum amount of funds. Later on in my journey, I used some investor funds, but I had a plan as how much money I've got to use to build my business to a level that I'm right now. And I'll also say, start thinking about already when you even have your first essay, or if you have 0 essays, start thinking about your systems and processes. I'll keep talking about systems and processes because that's what allowed me to be where I am and to have less headache, like that's the best way to put it, and less trouble in the business. Yeah. And allow to have employees to follow your systems and follow the way you think as well. So goals and objectives, funding, investors if you need them, or if you have savings. And systems and processes.
Fine, and we're going to go through systems and processes in detail soon on this podcast. So, going back to then, how much money did you start with? So when you kind of did your first rent to essay after the one you bought, how much money did you start with?
My first rent to essay, I spent 3,000.
Okay.
Literally spent 3,000, and that's.
And do you think that is a guide, and is it a common number, or do you think most people would spend more?
I think it varies for different, because people I didn't use a deal source or anything like that. I was passionate and adamant that I want to go and find my own deal. Whilst deal sources are good as well, because it's very good. It makes it quicker to go. It saves time if you got a job and stuff. I built a lot of networks, called all the landlords, and I wanted to find a place which was already furnished. So that allowed me to have a cheaper £3,000 startup, basically £3,000. So I spent £2,000 buying stuff and £1,000 rent, and that's it.
No deposit?
No deposit, because it's one of the things that you need to make sure you tell them it's a business and what you're offering the landlord, and sell it in a way which I was able to, whether call that lucky or I got my pitch right. So no deposit on my first one.
And how did you? So you mentioned something about building networks, calling landlords.
Yeah.
I'm new to SA. How do I find a rent-to-SA deal? Tell me.
Keeping it simple again, I found my first one on Gumtree and the second one on Open Rent. Direct to landlord, I went, called. Every morning I woke up, I had a reminder set for new apartments that come on Gumtree every morning. So every morning when I get a chance from my break from work, I'll just call a landlord, say, this is what I've got, this is what I can offer, or I'll have a chat rather than a pitch. Have a chat to have a viewing. You want to get in front of the landlord if you want the deal, right? If you want it, because there will be other people in the market. SA is a very booming business right now, so everyone's trying to do it, right? What you want to do is keep the chat as minimum as possible on the phone, and try and get in front of the landlord where you talk about your business and that you get into detail what you offer, and not to confuse people, because you got to remember a lot of people don't understand SA as well. Whilst in our circle a lot of people do understand SA, so you want to get in front of SA landlords, as many as you can, and use Gumtree and direct to landlords and tell people what you do.
So tell people what you do. Open Rent, Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace?
Yes, Facebook Marketplace works for us as well. I didn't initially use it, but it works for me right now because I'm more active on Facebook now and Instagram.
And also, that's the benefit. If you build a brand, then people on Facebook can actually see who you are. So if you're posting lots of stuff about SA, about your deals, they don't even need to, they can just stalk you and be like, cool, I like this person, I want to do business. And that's the way that business is evolving, right? Probably slightly different from when you started. So, okay, so we're finding deals. Now, when it comes to landlords, I think a common FAQ or query from people is, but for example, this flat we're sitting in now, decent location, Birmingham city centre is literally there. It's a nice apartment. This will rent all day long at whatever the rent is. If I own this apartment, why am I bothered working with? Why don't I work with you?
Yeah, that's a really good question actually, because one of the biggest challenges was this. Some of the luxury market that I targeted, or the apartments that we wanted, was the challenge when they said the same thing. Said, why would I give it to you, Adam? I've had 10 other people come to me, and they don't sell every day in, day out. There are various factors and various advantages you can sell to the landlord, but ours are very simple and very effective. Your apartment, as you can see, we're sitting in one, always stays in a 5-star condition. We get business because it's 5-star.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That is. So when you have a normal tenant in, they won't clean this weekly. So we get this cleaned weekly, or even quicker. So the landlords are liking that. I said, okay, you're going to keep the condition of my apartment, because I'm giving you a brand new apartment. I don't want it to get run down. So if things do start wearing down, we as a business, because we really focus on quality, this is one of my selling points to my guests and to the landlords. Focus on quality. We will make sure we replace something where the quality is not so good anymore after a year. So the landlord won't be really getting involved in it, because it's small things, but it matters. Small things add up to become big things, So that's one of my selling points, keeping the quality high. Cleaning would always be done, and the standard, the landlord can come in when we have 3 days, a free, empty in the calendar, and it will look exactly the same the day one is looked. Okay. So and the landlord would compare that to a buy-to-let or to a normal tenant. It wouldn't look the same if you walk in after 6 months, because you know how most people live, and that's one of our main.
And so it's interesting, because I think a lot of people, and maybe even courses would like, if I ask someone, they may say, "Oh, we give guaranteed rent." But you give that. I'll give it if I do SA. He, she, everyone will give guaranteed rent. So it's interesting you led with that, and I think if people are listening, that's something to pick up on.
It's really important, because everyone's coming. This is a really good point. Guaranteed rent. Everywhere on Google, it's guaranteed rent. You know, and I go with quality and what they're gonna get. What's in it for them? Guaranteed rent. He's getting guaranteed rent anywhere from a banker that's gonna stay in this apartment next to from his office. So that really has worked. Honestly, really has worked until today. Still works. When we still, even landlords, when they approach me, they look at my profile and business page on Facebook, they still ask me the same question, Adam. Look, I've seen all of this, but why does it work? Why would I still give it to you? Just to make sure that they're peace of mind. And it's quality. Quality sells. Quality will eventually. Everyone wants their property looked after.
That's very true. And tell me about your first deal. So obviously after the 6 month period, we're past that now. Your first rent to SA deal. Tell me about the figures, if you can remember them, what it was, and how it's doing today, if you still have it.
Yeah, so that's actually one of my best performing ones. Ironically, that it really did well. I spent a good hour sitting with the landlord after meeting him, talking to him from Gumtree, finding him on Gumtree, meeting him on a Sunday afternoon. So you got to put the graft in. It's Sunday afternoon. Met him. I still remember at 3 o'clock. and he didn't know nothing about SA. So sat with him, you know, I already did my research before I went, so it's very important to do your research before you go, so you have a 70% to 80% confidence level already before you get there and say, okay, it does match my assumptions that I had from the pictures. Had that, you know, did my numbers, built the relationship with him over an hour and a half, had a cup of coffee. You know, a lot of people just walk around and he offered me a cup of coffee and I accepted it and, you know, sat down, built that. So that allowed me to seal the deal without deposit, so that's very key because it's capital that if I have 20 right now, you know, to 22 times £1,000 is a lot of money. So you want to really want to push for it. I know we have paid for the deposit later on, but it's really important to have try not to waste your capital. So going into numbers, we get about that varies again from somewhere it gives us about, it's giving me about £1,300 net profit. When you're talking big, because we get tourists here, we get a lot of workers, corporate workers in Birmingham, and anywhere from 700 to 800 900 in the winter season, because pretty good in Birmingham as well. So this is net profit, so we get from anywhere above 700 on this. It's a 2-bedroom with balcony, quite luxurious, with parking and everything. So these factors matter to get these numbers. So I do get anywhere from 700 net profit to 1200 until today, and it's an all year round market except for January in Birmingham. So it works pretty well.
And that's net profit after sort of management, cleaning, all the endless costs that come with it.
So management, because I'm a management company myself, so there's no 15% management or 70%. So we keep that cost down. Even if you had management, so we do manage some of the similar apartments for our investors, it's still, you take away 15%, you're still netting good profit from 12.
And then you just mentioned a few factors like, say, balcony, car park, it's luxurious. You know, generally speaking, obviously an SA is different to a buy-to-let. Buy-to-let is 4 walls, a floor, a kitchen, bathroom, that's it. It's a home. Whereas an SA is like a home away from home, like a hotel.
Yeah.
Like, how specific do people need to be when they're looking for SA deals? Like, should they have a checklist that they say, look, if it doesn't have X, Y, Z, it's not going to attract the top market rent? Like, how loose and how tight are you when it comes to looking at deals for little specifics like a balcony, like parking, like things like that?
So I think I have a very simple answer for this. What I do, if I'm looking in a postcode or an area, let's pick a gold mine area, I look at my competitors around me, right? Do your research. So I always do my research. Say if there are not many not offering parking, for example, not many that are offering balconies or the luxury model, or the modern brand new builds, I would look for them to like negate the saturation. The people say there is an SA market now, you know, like bring a USP in for each area that you operate in. So that's the reason I do it. I have places without balconies because I don't need to have balconies in those areas. For example, I don't need parking because it's next to the train station in some areas, but this one specifically, if you're talking about this first deal, I made sure, okay, let's look for deals which has balconies, and you know, parking and all those factors. Factors can vary. There could be other factors that I can look for. So as well. You
know, you're essentially doing what good businesses do, which is find a USP, and that could literally be as simple as parking.
Yeah.
Or an ensuite or whatever it is. But if your competition aren't doing it and you're doing it, you're winning. You're ahead.
Exactly.
In some shape or form.
And the results are there for me over the year, and that was my first deal, and here we are 13, 14 months on, and it's still working, still fine. I'm paying the least maintenance on that, you know, and it's still selling, you know. I now have reviews, now I have a brand, but you know, get your USPs right. I think look for something different what other people don't have, and then that would allow you that will give you confidence to grow. Because this the first deal is the hardest deal, as everyone says as well. I was so nervous, you wouldn't believe that. I can't believe that I'm still sitting here buying, you know, 22 apartments now, and the first one. I was really nervous, but it's just the confidence. If you have those factors in your head already, you know you're already winning. So when you go talk to the landlord, you're going to be more self-confident before he even accepts it.
And what's the worst deal that you've had?
So that's a very good question. A lot of people don't talk about that. I have given one house back. It was a serviced accommodation. It was a house. I wouldn't say it was the worst deal because it didn't make us a loss. It always made us a profit. It was just not enough profit. It wasn't making us for the hassle and the work that was gone in the house. So traditionally houses will give you more maintenance because it's bigger, and you know, houses are older as well compared to apartments, more to maintain. and we had neighbor issues, and it's just a lot of issues that built in. Luckily, we do a lot of direct bookings, which is one thing people should focus on as well. By that time of my business, I had a lot of repeat bookings and direct bookings, so we placed a lot of contractors. We didn't need to use AirBNB for that, so we were guaranteed making profit on that. But you, again, as a good business will do, if you go into something that's not working, plan to exit. An exit strategy is always important. So we realized 3-4 months into it, yes, it's making us money, but the hassle that's coming with it, not enough money to counter the benefit. And we plan to get out with we always do a 2-month break clause with the landlord, which is very important. As you build a brand, you can really stay strong with your 2-month break clause, and we had that, say luckily, or we did well to get the deal at the start, and we negotiated a 2-month break clause. We gave a notice in 6 months into the contract, and we didn't make a loss. I wouldn't say it's a worst deal, but don't be afraid to give your apartments back or rent to rent, because it's never 100% that you're going to get it right. There's got to be we always have a confidence level based on our research, and that unfortunately didn't work as well we planned.
So essentially you cut the straggler, right? You cut the weakest link. It was still giving you profit, but and that's like when they say you need to learn to say no to clients or to business.
Yes.
You said no to that because you were like, actually, yeah, it's making money, but time versus money, it's not worth it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you're furnishing an apartment, do you have to go all out on the swag, or can you be quite sort of normal and just new and nice, or does it vary from area to area?
I think again it varies for different areas, different models. So people have luxury models, just operating luxury. So if you're doing a luxury model, you're charging the premium. So if you're charging a premium, people expect premium service and the product around in the apartment or in a house. So we do 3 different types of models. We do a luxury model where we charge the premium, where I would spend the money. I would go spend $1,000 extra to make sure the quality is always good, but the extra bits that I would include in the house. We even got an Alexa and a PlayStation in one of them, right? So that kind of like, it's not expensive, but it adds to the luxury model. Then we have a simplistic modern apartments, which is most of the portfolio. We do that. I think it depends on what area which area you're in, which end of the market you're in. So we do a budget. I actually have one apartment which is a budget apartment, which competes with the budget hotels, because the rent is like £500. So 1-bedroom apartment, we're paying £550, £500 a month. It works. So the numbers work. You can do a luxury model, you can do an economy model, or you can do a budget model. So all depending on your area, what customers you're trying to focus as well. So please, I would recommend to our listeners that look at your consumers. Who are you targeting? No good having loads of builders and construction workers around and you're offering a luxury model. So they really don't care. In fact, it's probably not going to stay in that way long term.
And I guess if they see fancy stuff, they may not want to stay there because they're like, oh, what if I break it? What if Okay, that's a good point. I guess again, that's everything you're saying is you're operating an SA business. Yeah. Because a business looks at the market, the target market, and fits, or designs it for a target market. Yeah. That's quite interesting with the budget model. So you have grown from 0 to 22 units in a year. Yeah. That's a lot of scale. That's a lot of stuff happening, and whilst you're also working in a full-time job. Yeah. What advice can you give to people who are in full-time jobs who are maybe fearful of scaling that quickly because they've got a job? Like, how do you balance both? How have you balanced both?
So again, it goes back to my first point I made about systems and processes. That was really important. So to answer your first question about balancing, what I did, I tried to create systems and processes where it's the least involvement of me in the business after, as I grew. So I took it literally like a business. People have to remember this is a business, and any other business is operating around you that you look at. So I used to analyze my company, how they're running, how the management of different level works, where they don't have to involve and the job still gets done, right? So that allowed me to scale significantly because of my knowledge, and this knowledge you can just learn from observing people, observing businesses. So scaling is based on processes and systems, and making sure you have have a good team around you as well. That's important. So I started employing people as well, and that are based in. So my customer service manager is not actually based in Birmingham. She's based in UK, but she understands. She gets to visit Birmingham. She gets to see the portfolio. Whereas the virtual assistant in Philippines, for me, this is my opinion, they wouldn't get to see that. So, and that shows in my reviews. So if you guys went and looked at the reviews of our business, it's the direct customer service we have provided has paid off all the expenses of a salary or of an employee, because the reward in long term is better, because we get a lot of repeat bookings now, because the person is UK based and understands everything and able to answer all the questions, and it just gives them a home feel to the guests. Most of our guests are UK based. They feel home. They feel like they're talking to someone, a real person based in UK as part of our business, and it's a long-term game, I think, for me, and that allowed a local person has allowed me to build that long-term brand.
And when it comes to reviews, are there any key tips or pointers you can give people for getting 5-star reviews? I
think, again, hospitality, because it's a hospitality business, it's in the title. Customer service, we are prompt on responses. One of the key things you'll see in my reviews that me and my team have responded within. We have a KPI that we respond within. If there's a message or an email within 20 minutes, I think we've got KPI is 20 minutes. Phone calls are always answered. We measure that. If there are missed calls on our system, we measure that as well as a KPI, why there are missed calls, so we won't have them next time. So response time gets you 5-star reviews. Quality of your properties. So as we touched earlier, make sure your quality of your properties are really good. That really gives us. And it's just follow and asking people whilst they're staying how they're doing, if they need anything, just little human to human connection. Even though we have a team, sometimes, if there's some guests that I have time, I'll give them a call. I see there's a long-term booking, just to appreciate their loyalty. We'll give them a call. I would personally give them a call, whilst my team would do that, but I would do that as well. That all results in, whilst there's other factors as well, these are the key factors that allowed us to get the 5-star reviews.
Hospitality and a human touch, right, which is something that we can easily forget.
Yeah.
Once we build these systems and processes, it's easy to forget the human touch, but it needs to be done with the humanity, because it's a service accommodation.
And I would add one more thing to it. I know we're in a service accommodation, which is slightly different to a hotel, but go stay in a hotel, a 5-star hotel. Go when you're going away one of the weekends.
There's a big difference, yeah.
Yeah, you will see the way they talk to you, the way they behave, and if something make a complaint about something that you don't like, not on purpose, but there's something that's wrong, and see how they react to it. Because a lot of us, I've never worked in hospitality before, but a lot of persons in property probably haven't. Go stay in a 4-star or 5-star hotel where they do give that service, and it's just because people are used to that. I think this is a really fundamental point. The most of society used to stay in hotels to this service, right? If they're going to pay the premium price and stay in your premium apartment, they're going to expect somewhere near that service, right? So go learn from the experts that have been doing this for years.
Good points. And we've mentioned direct bookings a few times. Firstly, why is a direct booking beneficial? And then secondly, how do you get direct bookings? So
to answer your first question, why they're beneficial, first of all, you avoid a lot of commissions from the OTAs, such as AirBNB, Booking.com, and all the.
They charge you a cut to list it on their platform. Okay.
Yes, so you avoid that. They're like a middleman. They're charging for a cut. You avoid them because you're getting the full rate of your nightly rate without any commissions, because it's coming directly to your bank account. So that's one of the benefits. Long term, so you can get long term bookings if you do direct bookings. So you can get longer term, like fill your apartments for 3 months or 2 months, and allows less turnover. So you want to keep the turnover as low as possible, so it keeps your cost down, keeps your cleaning costs down, keeps other costs down, keeps the going in and out of a residential building that you're operating with other neighbours and stuff down as well, so less hassle for people. And yeah, so it's really, and how we go about getting the direct bookings is what we do is we do a lot of marketing, so build a brand. You know yourself, Tej, that you build a good brand and how much that's benefited you. So we have built a brand around our SA business, from a business page on Facebook to business Instagram, which gets a lot of interaction, and then we do email marketing, such as use MailChimp. I have a social media marketing person that works for me, and he does all that stuff for me, and that's how you will get your direct bookings. Have a website, have a dedicated website that's linked to your channel manager, linked to your calendars, and use Facebook ads, Instagram ads to promote your website, where people can go book directly and there are no commissions. So that is probably the easiest way to do it.
Do you find that people do book direct? I'm asking because when I look at Airbnbs, I look at the reviews, and generally I've only ever stayed in places that have had a few reviews. Do you find that people just go ahead with direct booking on like a random website? Or?
So what we do, we link our direct website. So we work at the moment. We're working on SEO. So people out there who are tech marketing experts and tech, so you want to work on your SEOs to get your Google ranking high. Few of the points, you can get reviews on TripAdvisor, you can get reviews around Google, on your Google business page. So you kind of start building up a profile. It's not an overnight thing. It's a thing that you're gonna get over a period of time. Don't forget that I've been in this for a bit more than a year now. So I've built this up over a year. Second thing you can do is link your website to your Facebook page, Facebook Messenger. A lot of things that gives confidence, shows something, shows substance behind it. It's not just a random website. You can even display some of your reviews on your website from Google, from TripAdvisor. There's some softwares you can use and get your web developer to do this. So it's a lot of ways you can do it and bring all of this together in one place, so people can see that you are a real person or a real business, not just someone just set up a website yesterday and start doing a business.
I like it. And that's interesting, you said you get hits off Instagram.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a very visual platform. Service accommodations are usually very visual, they're very nice. There's lots of images from just a single essay. I can see like 20 images in this one and it's not even fully set up. So I think that's something that, from my knowledge anyway, a lot of people I know who do SA are not on Instagram as a business. They're on Instagram themselves, but they're not on it as a business. So maybe that's something that people should try.
I think so, yeah.
Especially with Instagram adverts, which are easy to do along with Facebook. Yeah. And it could drive some traffic. Ooh, a question just popped in my head. People ask me, I don't know why they ask me this, they say, right, when I'm doing my figures for a potential SA unit, what occupancy percentage should people use as like a conservative, does this deal work in my spreadsheet?
I think for us, and it varies again for everyone, we aim for 50% to 60% to break even minimum, like 50% usually I would say. So we must be breaking even at 50% occupancy. If we're not, then we want to start looking at negotiating rent or whatever, or maybe looking at a different deal. But our key target is rather than the actual breaking even, we aim for look for 80% occupancy by doing all of these booking direct and through different OTAs. We aim for 80%, which we do operate at 75 to 80%, even 90% in summer times. So I think that's the answer, right? Aim for you have a target for what you want to achieve, and then the minimum would be for us. It's about 50% to break even.
Fine. And a lot of people say service accommodation, and you kind of mentioned it, is saturated. You go on Airbnb, type in this postcode, any postcode in any city really, even rural areas, like full, all the little dots come up. And obviously some are booked, so that's not even showing the extent of what is there. Is that a deterrent? So obviously before we've said, if you style it differently, if you have a USP, then it's ignore saturation.
Of course, yeah.
But, in some areas, if there's just so many, is it a deterrent? And sometimes is it a decision where someone maybe should be like, you know what, there's a lot of essays here, I can't really find a USP because Adam's bloody there doing the USP, or someone else is then doing what he's not doing. Should I go somewhere else? Is that, do you think, a decision where people should say, actually, let me go somewhere else?
So for us, it's very simple. When I started, don't forget, it's only a year ago that I started. That's exactly what I heard. So nothing has changed. I heard it's saturated. I think it's all about mindset. I think you got to create your mindset that if you don't start now, when you're never going to start. The world is growing as fast as pace as it ever has, right? So I had exactly the same comments, same issues around me in my ears, like everyone's saying, it's saturated. I operate mainly in Birmingham, so I had Birmingham saturated still till today. People say, but how did I do it? I'm not any different. So I say to people, go out there and try it. If you don't fail, you're not gonna make it. People have been saying this for it's not reinventing the wheel. You just got to go out there and try it. It may be saturated. It's just like restaurants are saturated. People still need to eat. It's the same. People need places to stay. That's one of my main points. The second point is service accommodation market is growing at its faster rate as it's grown from a consumer point of view. So it's not just the property developers or property management companies that are starting businesses. It's mostly the customer demand is coming. Like our customer demand has increased significantly in the last 6 months than it was before. I don't know the facts, the reasons behind it, but it has. We just get more bookings now, right? It could be my brand, it could be anything, but a lot of customers, like Birmingham is growing at a very good rate. It's trying to catch up with London with all the investment. So all these workers are coming here, managers, project managers are coming out on this construction projects. A lot of tourists are coming here, like we got a lot of universities, so don't forget international students come here, their parents come here, we get a lot of business for international people actually. So I think you can have your mindset right, that's one point. And secondly, just go out there and just do it, and it works.
Okay. And then going back to what we mentioned a couple of times, systems and processes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's deep dive into this. What systems, and name some software if you use them, whatever, like feel free to say whatever, do you need to run a successful SA business? And are these systems I should set up when I have 0 SAs? Like, should I set these up from day one and be ready, and what should I do?
Right, so the answer for this is, if you want to scale and you have a goal to scale and become a full-time, full-on business, like in a service accommodation, you need to have a channel manager to start with, right? With one property, you probably can link different calendars, but if you're looking to scale and getting 2 a month, or in the next month or so, 2 months, I would say start with a good channel manager.
Which one do you use?
I use Tokeets, but there are various reasons, cost effective, and it's working for me at the moment. But there are different other ones out there which have different benefits, which I don't have in mind. But it depends what you're looking for. For me it works, for my team it works, right? But I do know of other ones I'm aware of that people can have a look and just go do your research, work out your cost benefit. But for a starter, I think for us, Tokeet, because it was so cheap, for 1 or 2 essays, 3 essays, 4 essays, and we stayed with that, and then we haven't changed because it's working for us. Other softwares and systems I would use, for your cleaning team, you need to have a cleaning checklist, for example. Have a checklist that your cleaners can use on the phone, take pictures, send you a report. So have a software for that. Maybe use something called iAuditor, which is available. You have to pay a fee for it, but it's there. All cleaners can have it on the phone as an app, and they will send you a report which you can use, which is really important, right? You can use it when people guest challenge you about the cleaning. You can send that and say this was done by a professional cleaner. Here's the official report. So we use stuff like that. We use a lot of other softwares like we use something called Monday.com, which is more for organization per day-to-day task for my team, because I have a team now, so I need to make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do on time with this timeline, and I can just download a report. Like
a project management software, like Asana or Trello?
Yes. So and you mentioned Trello, we use Trello as well. So but Monday.com is really good. Again, it's a phone, like we run the most of our business on our phone, right? So these are mainly done because they're good apps. So you want to make sure the apps are good, because sometimes you get a software, they're good on the laptop, they're not good apps. So we have we've gone and got buy-in from my employees as well to make sure they like it. You're going to make sure your team likes it when you get to that, to scale to that level. So these are some of the main softwares that we use to systemize and process.
And then when it comes to the actual processes, talk me through some of your key processes that you think are foundational to your and anyone's SA business.
Right, so we have a key process. Going back to cleaning again, cleaning is a fundamental business. So a key process is for example, we have a process of how to clean a house, an apartment from start to finish, how many towels you need to have, and how many bed sheets, and what the linen is like, and how many we need. So we need to make sure it's repeatable. So coming back from my experience from my past job, repeatability, to get the same quality, you want to get the repeatability. How do you get the repeatability? By having a process in place that a new employee or a new person comes in tomorrow. If one gets sacked, the other person's coming from, cleaners come and go. So having a cleaning process is very important, which includes a checklist.
And how deep is that? Literally, you have to wipe that shelf. How deep?
See, that is it's a tricky question actually, because you don't want to make it boring, because again they're humans. So we try to keep it high level but cover the main aspects. And training is important again. So you want to train people one-to-one, whether we have a cleaning supervisor that trains them, or where I used to train them at the start because I wanted this standard. So you want to kind of mix your training with a high-level checklist and a process which people follow and send you that links into the app that we talked about earlier, and they send it back to you as a report. that's one thing. We have a lot of other processes as well, where like we have a reaction plan, which I call it for the team, where if something goes wrong, what do I do, or what does my employee do? You know, as simple as that. What do you do when something goes wrong? It's a lot of detail, but we've done this because we want to grow to a big business. This is what big businesses do. They have a process for everything. So we will put a process for what do we do if the guest, you know, if something is out of ordinary, and what do we do after 8 o'clock? What do we do if it's a 2 a.m. call out, and what do we do at different times? So we are detailed into that level at the moment because we want to really grow and be the best. Basically, our vision is to be the best in nationwide, or say Birmingham. So that's one. And then we have guest focused processes and systems as well. So we have like guidebooks, which are digital guidebooks. So the guest gets a link. For example, how to use a TV, you know, how to use a washing machine, how to use a dishwasher. So they get a video guide and a talking commentary behind it. So that's a system we have created. They get a link with the check-in instructions. Please use this to do a self check-in and to use the things around around the apartment, and that is tailored differently for each apartment to that apartment, so it's unique to each apartment. And that has contributed actually to our 5-star reviews, because it's something different we're doing. I know a lot of people do it, but a lot of guests have commented that, oh, we never had that before, it's really good. So we're trying to keep it digital, and you know, you can take it a step further, you know, have tablets, and you know, you can have we're looking to use a tablet now, something that we're innovating. Innovation is important, where we can link that to a channel manager, upsell, you know, if you want to upsell late checkouts, early check-ins on a tablet that we're looking to use, and have all the guides and the videos on there for each apartment.
I like that. And I think like what you said about passion right at the beginning, that's what I'm hearing, because you can do SA and just do it without innovation, and you can still make good money, right?
Of course.
Easy.
And I do that, of course.
But it's interesting just to hear it from your perspective, because you're just treating it like such a business, but also like a proper business where you are innovating and trying new things. As small as they may sound, there's still something new, something different. So it's really good to hear that. And not everyone has to do that, you know? It depends on their passion. How many of your apartments have been trashed?
I would say it's actually none. We came close. We've had 1 or 2 parties, but they've never been trashed, but it cost us.
So how have you avoided that then?
Yes. So the reason is it's a very simple and effective way to do it. You know, having a good check-in process. Say even if it's a virtual self check-in, getting people to fill out their personal details, making sure they give the ID with the correct address. For international guests, make sure you have the passport. Terms and condition. So we have a clear terms and condition which highlights all these rules, house rules, what can they do, can't do, what their responsibilities are as a guest, and you know, it goes into the detail. So we get them to sign in before we send them any check-in details or anything before they're going to get the keys. They must do that. So that negates a lot of party people, or a lot of people who would not going to care about your place because they're signing into something. We do take deposits as well where necessary. So we look at, you know, so some platforms we take a deposit because we can't do it high risk, and on if it's a one night stay, so we do one night stays as well, because I've grown and I understand the business model more now. We do one night stays, but we take precautions by taking deposits on some one night stays on the weekend if it's a Saturday. So that psychologically stops a lot of people, even if it's £150 deposit, stops a lot of people causing damage on trashing, because a lot of things we gotta realise that parties are gonna happen in places like London, Manchester, and Birmingham. A lot of them are getaways for a weekend, so you know, you don't want to miss out. Our belief is we don't want to miss out on them, so how can we just reduce the risk, right? So this is what we do. So checking forms, IDs, and deposits.
Fine. So, you know, speaking of your growth, I think people listening can kind of hear your passion, hear your drive, and can understand your growth, but I don't think we touched on it fully. So 0 to 22 apartments in a year. You also raise some investor finance alongside it to buy a flip. Talk to me about, like, how did you raise the investor finance? How much did you raise? Yeah,
so I can keep this brief and very simple. So I raised about 200k this year, total finance from about 3 investors. And let's talk about so I did a flip. So I do essays. We talked a lot about essays. So I did a flip, which is still going through a sale now. We got an offer just literally yesterday on it.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So what we did is this guy said, here's 200 grand. I like your business model in SA. I see you can deliver results, and I've done buy-to-lets before. showed him a deal, went through all the process, as I was working with an investor. So we raised that, we're looking at 2-3 more deals at the moment with different investors. So literally by just building relationships, I did this. So I have 2 sites, I have 2 businesses, one service accommodation, one doing flips and buy to lets with no money down basically. Essentially no money down. I've gone through a flip within 6 months, and we got the offer that we expected. So that's one side of the business, and we're still raising money. Then we have the service accommodation side, where you say how I grew so quickly. A lot of it again is very simple. It's relationship and networking. And networking, we were having this chat the other day. It's this social networking and business networking, which I believe in. I raised a lot of money from business networking, it's the social networking. Whether I've used all of them or not, because I recycle a lot of my profits to grow my portfolio, because I wanted to keep a lot of my profit myself and not pay investors out. But now we do a lot of management for investors, so they get the rent to rent, and they put the money in, we help them put the money in, find an apartment, deal source for them, and then manage it, because I just added to my portfolio. So that's allowed me to scale so quickly. So investor funds have allowed me to scale quickly, and what's allowed me is getting the property. So investor funds are easy bit. I think the deals, the rent to rent, or whether it's a flip, that's not easy. So I have a lot of landlords. Landlords have landlord friends. Remember that. This is how my business have grown. So I've made a good relationship. For my first landlord, he's given me 2 new essays from his friend, because he said, oh, he's keeping in good condition, because he's getting his rent on time. He's come around once in a year and he loved it. And he's told 2 of his friends, and they have it in the next door building, and I get 2 from there. Same with other landlords, they told some of their friends. There is one actually who's told 5 of his friends, and every one of them have given me an apartment. So
wow.
I would say a lot of people don't talk about this, your current relationship with your landlord. Give them a text, say how you doing, how's things going. A lot of landlords have at least 2 to 3 apartments or houses within a city, So that's one of the key reasons. Finance would be the second reason. The first one is the current landlords have allowed me to grow, because they just have friends who have landlords.
I think that's such an obvious thing, because
we're
landlords, we're friends, we have friends,
all
of our friends are landlords, literally. So it's like, if we give one of our essays, apartments to someone,
you're going to talk good about it.
We're going to, like we do naturally about everything. So it's such a, obvious, we're literally in front of our faces, because of who we are. But I guess, it's such a good tip there. And that's why it's important to maintain that relationship.
Exactly, and that only takes a text message or keeping in touch here and there every 6 months, or or use an opportunity when a boiler breaks down, right? Use that. It's a bad thing. The landlord has to pay, but get him to come into your apartment and show him, look how it's going. When the breakdown, say you come have a look, and then have a conversation over the 20 minutes or the 1 hour that you're in the apartment, and then he might say, oh, okay, I'm just buying another house or an apartment. This is the real truth. It's so simple, but it's allowed me to grow to this level. Sometimes I've had portfolio landlords come to me and said I can't take it, and I had to pass it on to my business partners. So I would keep that in mind if you're starting out. Don't forget the current relationship with your
relationships, and I mean with anyone in any aspect of business is so vital. But this one that's literally slapping you right in the face. Utilize it. The government hate us, as we know. People who make any sort of money, people who own property. So they're regulating HMOs, potentially with this council tax stuff. Regulation or some type of tax or something is, people are saying is very likely to happen in SA, because y'all are making so much money, and the government obviously don't like you, making money. They need it to, I don't know, pay for MPs' expenses. What do you think is going to happen in the SA sector, and how are you preparing for the maybe?
I think I'm not sure about what's going to happen in the SA sector, because I think the government themselves probably don't know at the moment. So I can answer the second question, how I'm preparing for it. Again, going back to my point earlier, we said we're creating a business here. So I look at the HMO model, right? So I think you have a lot of friends in HMO, I have a lot of friends in HMO, and I see, the fire risk assessments they have to do, fire doors, and all of the other things that they have to make sure they're compliant before they can put the person in, put a tenant in the house. So I use some of that to make sure we're doing some of the same things. So if regulations came in, it won't be much different. That's my belief. It won't be much different to health and safety, fire risk assessments, and keeping it safe. What hotels have to do. you know, what hotels are doing to keep people safe. That should be a given for people. We do this in each apartment. We have a checklist, we have fire risk assessment. We should all be doing fire risk assessments in all apartments. So if you're doing all of these things, learning from the hotel, what hotels have to do, you kind of like, I think there, because these are the basic things the government will probably look for. And once you've done that, I think you will probably be ahead of a lot of people that are probably not doing it, who have been operating for years, because there is it's free for all at the moment. But I think that's basic requirement you should be doing that to keep people safe, because anytime things can go wrong. But it kills two birds, you know, in one go. Like you're keeping people safe, which is a requirement anyway, and then when the regulation comes in and requirements comes in, you're set to go.
Fine. What are the 3 biggest mistakes you've made in your SA business?
So one of the biggest mistakes I made, so as I talked about scaling quickly, and apartments did come left, right and centre, but again they came because of the relationships. So it can happen for anyone. So people who are listening, build relationship with your landlords and friends of friends. What I did was taking some of the apartments on too quickly, and the quality wasn't good. So I talked about one of my ethos was quality, but because everyone gets excited, you know, I'm not gonna lie, you know, it's one year is a quick time, and I said, oh, okay, I'll take another one. I want to get, I hit my goal of 10 in a year because I got double of that. But some of them, one of the mistakes I made is took them too quickly and the quality wasn't right. So now I'm facing here and there, I'm paying a bit more on maintenance because things are breaking down because they were not in such good condition. Mm-hmm. So it's costing me a little bit more to repair things now, but what we're doing is we're making sure they're repaired with good quality product and good quality items and in a good condition, so it doesn't happen. So what we do now, we have a checklist to make sure that we don't take a property which is not in such a great condition. Even if it's in a good location, we try to negotiate with the landlord to make sure he pays to bring it up to a good condition, because I'm in a position to leverage my brand and my position in service accommodation. Other mistakes I've made, you know, sometimes we try to be too accommodating to a guest request. So sometimes people have to be careful. Yes, the customer is always right, but base things on facts. So make sure the facts are right, because there are all sorts of people out there. You know, there's a lot of chargebacks that happen. You want to make sure you have your evidence right, you have your cleaning reports and all of that. So I'm more mindful now of like using facts and stuff to make sure when we answer complaints from guests, it's all based on facts. So that's some of the mistakes. These are the main mistakes I made. You know, make sure you've got your facts around you when you're working with guests as well. Okay.
And one question I didn't ask earlier, all these apartments, how much are they net profiting you per month?
So again, it varies. Summertime we can net anywhere from up to 1,000, 1,200, even more per apartment. Yeah, these are net profit, and you know, and in winter we're getting 700 to 800, 700, depending. Winter, when I talk about just January and maybe a bit of February, because Birmingham was my kind of all year round market, so we're not a seasonal market. So yeah, anywhere from 700 above to 1,200, 1,300, you know, depending on the size of the apartment. Our 3 bedrooms can really fetch a lot of money, and with a luxury model.
So if we do some maths there, that's quite a nice amount per month. So in a year, give or take, you have built enough cash flow per month to quit your job if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you know, with just purely the cash flow, you could just do what the hell you wanted.
Yeah.
Like and that's taken a year, which is, you know, still a good chunk of someone's life, but it's taken a year of obviously hustling, working hard, being exhausted, doing all the things that like people don't kind of tell you about, but it's taken 1 year.
Yeah.
You would work for how many years in a corporate job to match this salary?
Exactly.
Another 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe?
Yeah.
Depending on your job. That's you. I might have to work 20 years to match it. A listener might have to work 3 years to match it, but where else can you get this kind of cash flow in a year of absolutely busting your ass? You can't.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I'm not going to tell people it's easy. It's challenging, and if you're willing to put the graft in, passion is so important in a hospitality business, caring of your customers, and really going for it, but taking calculated risk. Really go for it. Just go in for it, you know. But make sure it's calculated risk. if you do all of that, I don't think there's many other business models or in property. Like, you know, I think this is one of the most successful business models in